And it's a good evening and a warm welcome to all of the viewers. We are here at Spa-Francorchamps for the round one of the Ferrari Challenge Series brought to you by Refined Racing. And this evening with me in the commentary booth, I have Stephen Koenig. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you very much for having me, and it is exciting to be here. Round one of the Ferraris, and so far Luke Lucchesi managing to put it on pole. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. All the drivers having to keep a slow pace until they get to the line, and then races on. What do you think, Doe? With having all fixed setup, all Ferrari, do you think there's going to be a change up at the front?
Oh, definitely. I think we're going to see some really good tight racing. Same cars, same setups. There's just the drivers that make the difference here. The start of this race will be on the GT starting point, which is at the bottom of the straight here. And let's see how this gets going. Hopefully, we see a clean start. Let's see what happens.
Steven Vessels in second place, trying to keep an eye on Luke Lucchesi, and they power on, but whoa, bit of contact. That looks like Jaco Foster involved in that incident. And sure, 3-4 cars out of it. Marius Pretorius trying to battle his way around, but not quite the incident we wanted to see early on in the race.
Yeah, that was quite unfortunate. I think there may have been some movement very quickly during the start of that race, which obviously, someone went out of their position as the lights went green. I think someone came over and possibly may have caused some contact there. I also see Paul Gerber dropping down quite a few positions there as he went down the Kimmel Straight and into the chicane there, dropping down from third on the grid all the way back to ninth position now. So there must have also been some contact, or he had made a mistake there. But we're right up back in the front here with Johan Grobler chasing Jaco Steyn and being followed by closely there, I think, by Daniel Rowe as well.
All three drivers very, very skilled in their craft, and we jump to Steven Vessels currently in third place. He's trying to battle his way up through the field. Daniel Rowe chasing down Jaco Steyn. You can see how hard they're going on the brakes, just trying to carry as much momentum through the corners as possible. Jan Grobler really just trying to reel in Tristan Norbringer at this point, and let's see if he'll be able to do that. It's still lap one. It's a long race, and the guys have to just tone it down and figure out where they're going to go for not only their pit stops, but also where they're going to battle around the circuit. We know Spa is pretty good at taking cars out, but let's see if the field of these pro drivers are able to carry it to the line.
Yeah, and I noticed Tristan Norbringer, they're obviously making quite a few positions at the start. Oh, as Daniel Rowe dives on the inside there. Oh, and there's contact there with Jaco Steyn. A lot of avoidance happening there. Let's see if he can at least get the rejoin here nice and clean. Yes, it's a good clean rejoin. Quite a few guys making up some free positions there, I see. Especially the team heaped together guys, I see made up a couple of positions there. And it looks like Paul Gerber has been given a slowdown by the game, hence why he went left there. Right, and as we go back with the leader, the group of leaders, going through Arouge and Radion.
Tristan Norbringer trying to catch up with the rest of the field. Steven Vessels doesn't want to lose the toe, so he's trying to pull himself a little bit closer. And Johan Grobler really trying to battle his way through. Is he going to do a Daniel Rowe send, as we saw a little bit earlier? You can see Norbringer up on the inside, just making it stick. Now has his eyes firmly set on Steven Vessels. Will he be able to go by? But while they're busy battling it out, Luke Lucchesi starting to open up the gap and break away from the field. And that's something they got to realize. You've got to work with each other while trying to catch up to the front. This constant defense is not going to help him. And you can see Zenon Peterson really battling to keep Johan Grobler at bay as we go up to Tristan Norbringer, who's really just trying to keep it all together, but losing sight of Steven Vessels.
Yeah, Steven also pulling away from this that group there. As we go down a little bit to the midfield with Jason Gibson running down in 13th position. The pack is really nicely tight here, and I think this shows you the equalness of this racing, the single make series racing that we have running here, where as we said earlier at the start, Stephen, it's really just the driver that makes the difference here. And obviously, how well can you keep your car in one piece, right? Because if the car's got damage, then you're at a definite disadvantage to the drivers around you.
Jason Gibson slowly been honing his craft in iRacing and favors the Ferrari quite a bit. He's been racing it in a few leagues. Seems to be very, very comfortable as he's going after Jan Price. Looking on the outside, Jan going defensive, trying to hold him back. And now it's into bus stop. This is all about going and braking just a little bit later than your competition, just to try and lean up on the inside. Jason Gibson tries, but just too far back. And that's also allowing Paul Herber to get right onto the back of him as well. So this is going to be very, very interesting. Jason Gibson now having to deal with his teammate right behind him.
Yeah, and I see we've got 3 team heap together cars there, 3 astern, racing in a nice formation there, I can see. And I'm wondering if we'll see some team tactics there from the team heap together guys to keep the rest of the guys behind them. Jason Gibson, as you said, now being challenged by Paul Gerber. Paul Gerber falling back quite far during the start of the race, and he's a bit out of his position there at the moment. Yeah, between the, I would say, slower drivers within the groups. So I think Paul will be making some good moves during this race to try and see if he can get up to the front there as he gets the pass made into the chicane. Yeah.
Jakostein really pushing hard. He's trying to make up a bit of ground after a bit of a dismal start, and now needs to start climbing up a ladder. He's down in 15th place, which is definitely not where he wants to be. Trying to carry the momentum through, hard on the brakes, and let's see what he'll be able to do. As we jump up to Jan Krobler, though, lying in 4th place and has got Pedersen all over the back of him. He's now having to figure out which way he's going to go for the defense. Jakostein onto the back of Jan Price, and Jan trying to go after his teammate Cameron Null. But you can see Jakostein going out very, very wide. He's got to be careful. Those off tracks at Spa are quite vicious, and he doesn't want to get slowed down like before. Really pushing hard, clipping the grass, and just trying to keep it all together. Johan Krobler really trying to battle his way through. Jan Price now going on the defense to try and hold back Paul Gerber. And I think we are seeing a little bit of team tactics of, let me hold him up and you get going as fast as you can.
Definitely.
But Jakostein is making dead sure that it is going to be difficult for him. And Paul Gerber is just following around. So as soon as that door opens, he's going to, Janneman's got 2 Ferraris that are going to slam past him if he's not careful. Getting into the bus stop.
Paul having a look there into the bus stop, but having second thoughts about it, I think, because obviously during the first lap he already tagged Jakostein there going into bus stop, so this time braking a lot earlier, making sure not to make the same mistake twice. But yeah, good close racing that we're seeing here in the first couple of laps. Really hard racing, It is only a 40-minute sprint race, so unlike your endurance type racing, the guys are going to go flat out here at full tilt.
That's it, and you can see Janneman now getting a bit of breathing space as Paul Gerber managing to get ahead of Jakostein up through Eau Rouge, and now he needs to try and get away from these 2 who are incredibly hungry to try and move up position. Paul Gerber going on the defense, trying to go to the middle of the circuit. Jakostein going on the inside. Who's going to be later on the brakes? And we'll have to take a look there.
We cut you through to, there we go. It looks like Paul has done the pass. But he's got the inside line. Jakostein's got the inside line there again. Will Paul stick it out on the outside? Back to Bego again. Johan Krobler, Bego, right behind Tristan Norberger. Going through Puhan. Johan really trying to get up there into the higher positions. Cut back to Paul and them again.
You got Jakostein trying to keep into the toe and pull himself along, but right behind them is Volschnik and Jason Gibson, who are slowly closing down on the 2. So let's see if Volschnik will be able to make up better ground. He's been new to iRacing, but absolutely loving it. We've seen him in the Assetto Corsa Competizione, but now coming and trying his hand in the Refined Racing Ferrari Cup. It's going to be a very difficult time to get past the more experienced Jakostein and Paul Gerber.
Yeah, and also looking at that Ferrari of Javier Volschnik, quite a bit of damage on the body panels, so it seems like he's had a bit of a tough start to the race as well. And yeah, like you said, transitioning now from ACC over to iRacing, Javier, very, very fast and a very successful sim racer on the ACC platform. But yeah, iRacing slightly different. But yeah, you see, from what I've heard from him, he's quite keen on getting his hands dirty within iRacing as well.
Jaco going out a little bit wide. He's got to be careful. Those off tracks are going to start coming into play, and you really don't want to have that. As we go to Johan Grobler, who's absolutely gunning it through Eau Rouge. He's got a better drive out. Let's see if he can put it in the toe of Tristan Norbringer and see if maybe he can go for the inside line. Very, very tight. And late on the brakes. Looks on the inside line, but just not able to do it. Then you've got the likes of Paul Gerber chasing after Jellerman Price. Now, Jellerman has to go on the defense once again. He was chasing down Cameron Nell, but now he's got Paul Gerber all over the back of him. Jan Grobler really battling out in front with Tristan Norbringer. And you can see Tristan is battling to keep it all in check, really sliding the Ferrari around and starting to use a bit more of those tires as they go. Definitely not what you want, because these GD3 tires drop off a cliff if you push them a little bit too hard. They get nice and hot, and that's your grip, game over.
Yeah, and I see Ziad Peterson is also just hanging her one or two car lengths there back behind Baga and them. Obviously just waiting to see if one of them make a mistake so that he can obviously just pounce and grab a position there. But I do think we're going to see a three-way battle developing there between Ziad Peterson, Johan and Tristan Norbringer. As we go back to Jaco Steyn here again, yeah.
Yeah, Jaco Steyn still keeping on the pressure. It looks on the inside, just not close enough to make a move. Paul Gerber managed to get past and now is hunting down Cameron Nell. So that's definitely put a split between the two teammates, but let's see how that's going to work out. Jaco Steyn really pushing hard. Jellerman going very, very wide on the exit and now has to try and carry the momentum through. Doesn't look like he's got a slowdown, but really has to keep up with Paul Gerber and Cameron Nell. He doesn't want to lose that train. You lose the slipstream and you're done. And you can see how hard he's pushing to try and make up that ground.
Let's see if Paul will make that pass here. No. Cameron manages to hold off Paul Gerber there for another lap. All being surrounded now, surrounded by the team heaped together guys there.
That's it. And Paul Gerber taking a bit more of a curb than he liked, so going and lifting the car up quite a bit. Jan Grobler going and pushing now. Tristan Norbringer going on the defensive once again, looks to the middle of the circuit, trying to take up as much room as possible, dives up on the inside, and that's only leaving Grobler with the outside line, moves just slightly under braking to try and slow down the likes of Jan Grobler.
And an interesting thing here, Stephen, also, obviously it's a fixed setup series, this. So all the drivers are forced to use the exact same setups. Oh, yeah, and as we see a massive crash going up the Kimmel Straight there. And that seems to have been between Jaco Steyn and Javier Falschkenk, unfortunately. I guess the stewards will have to have a look at that incident there, but that was a massive crash there up the Kimmel Straight. And that's obviously, I think, Jaco Steyn going back to, towing the vehicle back to pits there.
Falschkenk trying to just limp the car back, but you can see it was crabbing quite a bit. Massive impact. Now we've got the likes of Jan Grobler also going on the defense. He's got Peterson all over the back of him. Tries to look on the inside of Norbringer. Norbringer slams the door shut, not allowing a pass. But this is a battle for third place, ladies and gentlemen. And while they're duking it out, you got the Luke Lucchese and Steven Vessels who've just blasted away from the grid and want to keep away from this action. Grobler looks on the outside, decides not to, keeping in a tow. Will he be able to push himself along? Does a little bit of bump draft, which we commonly see in NASCAR. Lines up on the outside line. Norbringer going defensive, trying to squeeze him out. And you can see Grobler just making himself comfortable. Will it be enough to get ahead? Not just losing a bit of pace. And now Peterson all over the back of him and really trying to push him incredibly hard.
This will force Grobler to go defensive now as well. going into the first turn. And then they are heading towards Rouge and Radion. Let's see if anyone is brave enough to try and move through there.
You can see Peterson keeping in the toe, knows that he needs to try and get as much momentum up. Eau Rouge just taking a little bit too much curve, might get an off track there, but these drivers are really making it stick. You can see Johan Krobler going to the middle of the circuit now. He's playing defensive, dives to the inside line. Norbringer trying to squeeze him out.
Closes that door hard, and
that's slamming the door with the treadly door coming afterwards, that's for sure. And you can see Krobler just doing everything he can to try and make up as much ground as possible. He needs to get past Tristan Norbringer. He's got the pace, but is it going to be enough to try and sneak past Norbringer? Norbringer more than happy to sit in third position and has been soaking up the pressure this entire race. But when will it be too much? Because once you start staring at those mirrors, it's game over.
Absolutely. So I was going to say, while we're watching this exciting racing between these three, the drivers also, in addition to a fixed setup, they've also got a 45% fuel limit, meaning that the cars cannot be fueled up to full tanks. So all of the drivers will be forced to go and do a pit stop at some point during the race. They can obviously decide when they want to do that, but all drivers will have to do at least one pit stop. And generally it's during pit stops where we see quite a bit of movement happening, with guys just being a little bit better at the pit stops potentially, and different strategies coming into play there as well.
That's it, and you be sure a lot of teammates are starting to talk to each other, trying to plot out when are we going to pit, because they're getting close to the halfway mark, and you can be sure those dashes are starting to light up, and just letting you know that they're starting to run out of fuel. You got the likes of Krobler once again looking on the inside line, bit too far to make a move. You got Peterson all over the back of him, late on the brakes, trying to sling it in very, very deep, and back onto the power. You can see Krobler every single time trying to get closer and closer to Norbringer, but just doesn't have those. He's not comfortable where it's a lot tighter, where Tristan's more than happy where it's a lot tighter, but doesn't have the pace when there's a sweeping corner. So this is very, very interesting in terms of driving styles coming into play.
Yeah, it's a nice little seesaw battle going on here. As you've said, in certain sectors, the Norbringer looks a little bit quicker than Krobler. And then, you go to the sector 3, and Krobler looks like the guy that's a little bit quicker there. So nice little backwards and forwards seesaw battle going between these three drivers. Peterson just hanging back there a little bit. I think he's just literally just watching this battle here in front of him, and keeping a ticket to the to the side of the how can I say, as a spectator to the boxing match happening in front of him, and just waiting to see if there's an opportunity for him to capitalize on a mistake possible.
Definitely keeping in the toe and just watching the guys go along, but does take a look every so often to just try and figure out where he can go for a pass, as he doesn't want to get caught up too long in this battle. Then you got the likes of Steven Koenig managing to get past Bertus Hugo. Bertus been he's been around iRacing for a long time. Nice to have him in the league, but also part of Raceface in terms of Assetto Corsa. Always loves a Ferrari, but let's see what he'll be able to do now that he's playing a different kind of sim.
Yeah. Bertus sharing with me the other day that his ultimate favorite car within iRacing is the Mazda, the MX-5 there. So that's what he enjoys racing inside of iRacing. But we invited him to come and join us here for the Ferrari Challenge, and I think he is going to enjoy himself thoroughly here. As we said, different simulator completely, but also some new names to race against. Yeah,
that's it. And it looks like Tristan Norbringer getting a very bad exit out of the bus stop. That's allowed Krobler to dive up on the outside. Can he carry the momentum through? Norbringer really
it looks
hanging
like
the tail
Krobler's got
out.
to drive there out of that hairpin. See what happens.
And now heading to Eau Rouge, you can see Norbringer going defensive, holding the middle line as they power their way up. Krobler really doing everything he can. He's in the toe. Peterson as well, looking to get involved in this fight. Norbringer taking the tight inside line. Krobler going defensive. Peterson now looking to make it 3 wide. This is going to be challenging. Peterson backs out. He's not going to be involved with this. And you can see Krobler just side by side with Tristan. Oh,
Krobler
sideways
sticking out his
action from
elbows
Tristan.
there a little bit, I think. Norbringer having to catch the car there. Excellent driving skills from the Norbringer there to actually maintain control of that vehicle.
Definitely some touring car driving, elbows out and keep pushing, but losing 2 positions and a lot of time. He now has to try and chase down Peterson and Krobler. He's hoping for the 2 of them to battle their way through. We'll have to keep an eye on that as we take a look.
And it looks like Krobler's made a mistake there through Puhan, yes.
And clipping the wall as well. Hopefully not too much damage. Rejoining the circuit. Then we go to Yaz Samai, who's having lots of fun. They're going to come around and see Paul Gerber just getting going. And let's see if they'll be able to get by. He's currently in a battle with Jeff Hancock's and Andrew Barber all over the back of him. So that's absolutely incredible to see. And, commentator's curse. Andrew Barber going right down the field.
Yeah, and that's Jaco Steyn that made a mistake there, spinning the car through the S's there. Unfortunately, and I'm assuming that could also be a part of damage that's causing a little bit of less downforce, etc.
Absolutely incredible. Jeff Hancock's now is on the, trying to chase down Johan Krobler, and let's see what he'll be able to do. Yeah, Samai slowly catching up, trying to get on the train, but for Johan Krobler at this point, he's going to be looking in his mirror and going, okay, what do I need to do to try and make up ground and also get these guys off my back? Deciding to pit early and get his fuel all done. Maybe a new set of tires? We'll have to keep an eye on that. So far, 24 minutes have passed, so we can expect more and more pit stops to start happening.
Attempted pass being made there almost. But Maurice Pretorius keeping his head down and just focusing on the track in front of him. Defensive driving there. Javier Falschkenk trying some movement. But one thing is for sure, the way to, I would say, pass and drive through in ACC is slightly different to what I think you experience in iRacing. Grip levels are slightly different. The way the cars actually handle is quite a bit different, etc. as well. So yeah, a bit of an adjustment, I guess, there for Javier. But he's definitely back on pace again. Seems to be going good.
Definitely, and you can see Maurice Pretorius going on the outside line, deciding not to go too defensive. You got Tian really pushing hard to try and make up a bit of ground over the curb and getting a little bit sideways. Definitely not what you want to do. You can see the tires starting to heat up. They're going to feel they're losing grip as they go on, and something you don't want to deal with, especially in an all-fixed car setup, because to counter it is a lot more difficult. You can't just raise your traction control up. You can't move things around except for your brake bias. And now it's all about just managing what you've got. It looks like Mario's getting a poor exit and just not able to battle it out.
Good move there by Javier through Puhan. And also just to explain to our viewers maybe that have seen Javier's car being miraculously repaired again. All the drivers in this series are allowed one, what we refer to as a fast repair. So that allows the drivers to, if they've got damage, go to the pit and immediately the car is repaired and restored to being brand new again. So all drivers in the race have access to one fast repair. Obviously, once you've used that fast repair option, any subsequent incidents you may have, it could be the end of your race.
That's it. You start racing with gremlin damage, and that's no fun for anyone. As we're starting to see more and more cars starting to come in the pits. Luke Lucchesi deciding he's going to be coming into the pits. Tristan Norbringer, Jeff Hancock, Andrew Barber, Paul Gerber, Stephen Koenig, and Folschneck also going into the pits. So quite a lot of the field deciding they had enough. They're going to pit early and keep on going. 27 minutes down, and you have to try and figure out your strategy. Now, Doe, what goes through the mind of the drivers right now? Are you going to pit? Are you not going to pit? When you're in a challenge like what we're seeing in front of us, is it worth pitting?
Yeah, look, I mean, the pit is a compulsory stop. I mean, if you're not going to pit, you're going to definitely run out of fuel during some point of the race. Towards the end of the race, you'll definitely be running out of fuel. So I guess it's just the decision to make whether you're doing an early stop or are you going to drive the car until it's bone dry, and try and see if you can put some laps on the guys while they are in the pits. Maybe try the undercut, overcut, see what happens there. But yeah, that's typically what's going through the driver's mind at this stage is, should I go for that undercut, overcut? And I think most of the guys will start pulling into the pits right now, or the next lap or two at least, to take on that bit of fuel. I think the one advantage of obviously pitting a bit later is your time in the pits, because of the refuel, is actually a little bit shorter. Because you're putting in less fuel, obviously your time in the actual pit stall is quite a bit lower than the guy that, for example, goes to pit very early.
It's all coming down to strategy as we jump to Paul Gerber, who's in a little bit of a drag race at the moment. Jeff Hancock's moving over and now putting the power down. So Jeff looking to try and make up some ground, currently lying in 5th position, but needs to push a little bit harder to climb the ladder. I'm sure that he's aiming for that 1st place and has to make his way around Yaz Samai, Tristan Norbringer, Marius Pretorius, and Daniel Rowe. And saying that, it looks like Marius is going and taking that 1st place away from Tristan Norbringer. So Marius not
Norbringer is in the pits at the moment
yet.
Yeah, I think Norbringer has just taken his pit stop there. Paul Gerber has actually made up quite a few positions after his pit stop, so he must have had a very, very good pit stop, because he was quite a way behind Jeff Hancock's. And I see after the pit stop, they were right behind each other, and there he obviously takes the position from Hancock's. So yeah, definitely it seems like Paul's pit stop was a very fast one, helping him to gain quite a few positions there.
Jan Price now in a bit of a train going off to Team Jacobs, and it's got Jason Gibson all over the back of him. And we got one of the Ferraris, I think that was Jeff Hancock's. It was a bit sideways. And now the cars are coming through. Jeff Hancock's trying to get the momentum once again, but he is going to lose out 3 positions if he's not careful. Take a look at Gibson though, trying to make it 3 wide, going for a tighter line, looking to try and get past Jan Price, and does so. And now the battle is on. You can see Jeff Hancock's keeping it all together. Sideways action.
Bit of sideways, bit of Tian Jacobs there, obviously the back marker. The guys being a little bit maybe on the aggressive side, going past the slower drivers there. Tian now pulling in for his pit stop.
Definitely not the way you want to go, but well held. Can turn real nasty real quickly if you're not able to pull the car in check over there. Yeah. Take a look at Jason Gibson, now hot on the heels of Jeff Hancock's. Now the two have been talking to one another, just trying to improve Jason's times, and now let's see whether the student can surpass the master at this point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and as we go and we see it, there's another. This was an incident, it seems, between Daniel Rowe and Yaz Samai. That's up the Kimmel Straight again into the chicane over there.
And it looks like both cars suffering quite a bit of front end damage. Not exactly what they want. And take a look, Jason Gibson all over the back, really pushing hard to get around Jeff Hancock's. Just following him through, trying to force him to make a mistake. Jeff really going on the defensive, trying everything he can to just get that momentum, to break away. And
as Gibson loses it there through that turn. Hey, and we have, I think that was Cameron that came around the corner there. Obviously, the spotter didn't tell him in time. There's a stationary car there, and literally T-bones Gibson going through that section.
That was Marius Pretorius looking at it. Cameron Nell managed to get by and just going after Jan Price, but definitely not a good thing. Surely both cars have taken quite a nasty hit, and Gibson going in a little bit too hot, getting sideways. We talked about the tires starting to drop off. I think he's starting to feel it right now, and that's the cause of the slide. Got on the power too early, flicked the car around, and T-bone into the side. Definitely not going to help him. As we go and take a look at Stephen Cakebread, also trying to power his way through. Jason Gibson trying to make up a bit of ground to Cameron Nell. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Cameron Nell, new to iRacing, but has definitely been putting in the time and effort to improve himself and his racecraft in it, and definitely looking for a fight. So let's see the two rookies, if you can say, ready to battle it out as they head to the bus stop.
Cameron looks a little bit quicker there. Again, I think he's managed to keep his car in one piece, where some of the other guys have unfortunately not been able to do that. So I'm pretty sure Cameron will be pulling away there from Jason, providing he doesn't make any mistakes.
That's the challenge. Daniel Rowe making up a lot of time. Luke Lucchesi now starting to try and climb his way back up. The two drivers know each other very, very well. And let's see who's going to be later on the brakes. Luke Lucchesi goes in front hard on the brakes, forcing Daniel Rowe to slow down and just managing to move up position. Very, very well done. And, well, Daniel Rowe had no other choice but to slam on the anchors.
And again, as for our spectators, if you have a look there, unfortunately, Daniel's car looking a little bit worse for wear. That all affects the aerodynamic handling of the vehicle, which obviously gives a car like Lucchesi's that's in mint condition at this stage, definitely gives him the upper hand there. Lucchesi definitely on the charge here. He dropped down a few positions after his pit stop, but he's back on the charge here to try and see if he can make that podium.
It's going to be a challenge, as he's got Paul Herber, who has already pitted and is keeping on going. Taking a look, Cameron Nell going and battling with Jason Gibson. Jason just trying to follow him through. Cameron going a little bit wide, trying to carry the momentum through. Got to be very careful and take a look at Gibson, also incredibly wide, to try and carry that momentum through. Absolutely amazing, and shows how hard these drivers are pushing to get the momentum and try and keep it throughout the race.
Hop back here to Jason, I think, and that's Cameron in front of him, I believe. Yes, it is. Nice little two-way battle here between these two drivers. Looking like they're on a very similar level in terms of skills and things. Jason being a little bit wild with a weaving behind him to look for the position there. And as you said, those are the kind of moves that can overheat tires and make you make mistakes. If he sets it up here into the bus stop chicane.
Just a bit too far out. Cameron Nell, though, outbraking himself. And that's just allowed Jason Gibson to line up side by side with him, drag race down to the line. Advantage is going to be on Cameron's side as they go into a tight right-hander. But let's see if Gibson will be able to carry the momentum through. Cameron going very tight, understeers out and managing to close the door on Jason Gibson. Now it's a hard charge down to Eau Rouge, where Cameron's got to try and open up a bit of spacing to Jason Gibson as fast as possible.
And I think with only call it 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes left in this race, Stephen, I think the drivers are going to be very happy to say that they've had an awesome and fun race here, where there's been some really good dices all up and down the grid. Not only between the leaders, but all the way down the grid. You've seen various drivers involved in some really good battles.
That's it, and a lot of the drivers coming from Season 1 of the Porsche Cup that was brought on by Refined Racing, and you can see how much they've learned to drive these GT3s. They know how to go elbows out, they know how to slide it around, and really doing everything they can. I mean, take a look of Jason Gibson, a little bit of slide out, trying to keep it all in check, dives to the inside, and just really trying to force a mistake out of it. Hard on the brakes, Cameron Nell just not able to carry the momentum through enough.
Pretty good pass there by Gibson. Yeah, if he can hold it up.
Everything he can to try and hold back. Cameron Nell looks to try to go on the outside, too far back, decides that he's not going to take the risk and just going to follow him through. So Gibson now starting to put a bit of spacing between himself and Nell. And let's see how it's all going to work out. He's got only a couple of corners to play with here before Cameron Nell is in the slipstream heading to Eau Rouge.
We stay focused on these two drivers. I think, if you look at the track map over there, things have split up a little bit, with a bit more gap between the different drivers as we go going towards the end of this race. you'll typically find that the drivers will now start consolidating their positions and not racing so hard. I think we actually saw an example of it here where Cameron kind of decided, well, Gibson has passed him and I'd rather get that 11th position than nothing at all.
Just trying to get the car across the line. If you can finish, then you've done well. Finish with 4 wheels left on your car, you know that you finished the race. Gibson going and missing the apex there, and that's allowed Cameron Nell to get right onto the back of him, really pushing hard now in the slipstream. So Cameron Nell is going to have the advantage going up the hill, but will he be able to use it? Jason Gibson keeping it flat out. And take a look at Paul Herber. He's now making his way around, getting chased down by Luke Lecchese, who's all over the back of him, getting past one of the back markers. And Paul Herber knows Luke's behind him. Luke Lecchese always been a proper challenge in sim racing, and now showing what he can do in the Ferrari Cup, brought to you by Refined Racing, and which is absolutely incredible to see the talent that's out on the circuit today.
I'd like the Red Bull livery on Lecchese's car, one of my favorite Formula One teams, obviously. So yeah, I really like that livery he's got there. And you'll see that the Team Tryout guys have gone for a more, I want to call it a plain look on the cars, where they are now coloring the cars into different colors to differentiate, obviously, the two main teams from each other. So Paul forming part of Team Try Hard Racing Orange. And you would have seen there's the blue car that Jason Gibson is in, and that would be your Team Try Hard Racing blue team.
Absolutely incredible. Just trying to space it out, make sure the spectators can see who's where and what's happening. But Luke Lecchese does not care about colors. The only thing he's caring about is going for a checkered flag at this point. Late on the brakes, getting really close to Paul Herber. Paul having to really battle it out. Jason Gibson, though, losing the position to Cameron Nell, and that's a bit of a battle to keep an eye on as well. Paul Herber now going defensive, trying to hold back Luke Lecchese. Will he be able to hit the apex? Does so. Gets the power out. Luke Lecchese, though, goes out very wide, losing a lot of drive. And now it's down to Eau Rouge. It's make or break it for this corner. And that's the one thing to keep an eye out for. You lose the slipstream, you lose the drive, and once you get to the top, you're just not able to compete.
Paul Herber using every inch there through Eau Rouge and Radion. Staying on the defensive line, but Lecchese having the run on him there in terms of the slipstream, coming out of the slipstream and the late breaker.
Very late on the brakes, sending it on the outside. And I'm sure that that was a desperate send on the outside. They're on their last lap, and it's all or nothing for these drivers as they're trying to push the boundaries. Luke Lecchese not happy with his pit stop, falling so far down the field, and now is on a hard charge to try and make up as much ground as possible. And
it's Daniel Rowe going off again.
Daniel Rowe going and losing quite a bit of time there, and also losing position. So definitely not a happy camper for him. Paul Herber keeping in the tow, really pushing hard, trying to make up as much ground as possible. Then you got the likes of Bertus Hugo and Johan Schrobler having a great bit of fun. Cameron Nell still duking out with Jason Gibson. So battles right the way around the field, and you can be sure these drivers are going to push it right until the end. And I can tell you a lot of them are just begging for the checkered flag to come out at this point.
Absolutely, that's true. They I think, it's even though we say it's only a 40-minute sprint race, 40 minutes around Spa, in this type of tight racing, whether you are continuously in a battle with someone, really mentally takes it out of you. Yasamai is pushing hard there to get closer to Daniel after he made that mistake earlier.
Daniel trying to make up as much ground as possible, but I think it is going to be a little bit of a fruitless effort at this point. Hard onto the brakes, slinging around. You can see those rear tires starting to slip as he gets back on the power and shows the car very damaged as they power their way to the line. Really doing everything they can. Hard onto the brakes. So Daniel Rowe really trying to keep it all together. Then you got Tian Jacobs, who's been a little bit behind the field, but making up as much ground as possible.
Here
Then you got
we
the
have a
likes
little
of
battle going for second place, it seems, in the final throes of the race.
Norbringer trying to hold that second place with Peterson all over the back of him. Peterson in that beautiful Castrol looking colors, now trying to put as much pressure as possible on Norbringer. Let's see what he will be able to do, keeping the toe, trying to use as much of the road as possible. And you can see Norbringer going very defensive. Peterson having to move out the way, losing a lot of drive, and now trying to keep the momentum. Looks on the inside. Will he be able to make it stick, though? Really powering his way through. You can see Norbringer trying to go out wide to slow down the likes of Peterson every single time. It's turning into a bit of a challenge to hold second place at this point. You can see Norbringer just going wide once again, trying to close off as many doors as possible and forcing Peterson just to stay behind. But when it comes to the bus stop, it's going to be full send, I think.
Yeah, and it's just so cool to really see such tight racing happening on the very final lap of a race. It proves that this single make series racing is where it's at.
Then you got the likes of Jason Gibson still putting pressure on Cameron Nell, trying to battle his way through. And we go back to Norbringer, who's just late on the brakes, trying to hold his ground over the curb, just trying to keep it all in check as he gets back onto the power. Place. And we've got a little bit with Cameron Nell, who's holding back Gibson. Gibson trying to look on the inside, but back marker in the way doesn't help. Let's see how they're going to contend with it. Both of them just managing to sling by. Gibson really trying to keep it all together at this point. Needs to try and figure out where he's going to go. It's all or nothing. Only 3 corners stand between him and 8th place at this point. 9th place at this point. He's in the top 10. But let's see what he will be able to do. Lining up side by side, looking for a full send. We go back and it's Tinus Bertha duking out with Stephen Koenig. So let's see what's going to happen there. The team heaped together, really in a battle of their own. Tinus going on the outside, Stephen going very tight, holding his line, getting back on the power. You can see Tinus not giving up at all, really trying to force a mistake between the two.
I know, interesting, I think. If you look at the leaderboard there, I think Ziad Peterson actually managed to pip Tristan right there towards the end, possibly. We'll obviously have to see what the final results of the race are showing, as the leaderboard is still busy swapping around.
That's it. And you can see Stephen Koenig trying to keep back Bertha in the tow. We saw Bertha earlier in the race have a little bit of difficulty. He's now out of position. He's duking it out with Stephen Koenig. Usually they don't really mix in terms of pace, but Stephen going on the defensive and trying to hold back Bertha, getting past the back marker, hard on the brakes. You can see how hard Tinus is pushing Stephen, trying to force that mistake. And right behind them, though, is Johan Krobler, who's really getting on the power, goes out wide, trying to also pass back marker. So that's turning into a challenge as well. You know, Stephen Koenig is backing Tinus up to, that's a Bertus Hugo. So just trying to back him up a little bit and allowing him to pull in. So this is turning into quite a battle between them. And now Bertus Hugo all over the back of Tinus Bertha. Stephen Koenig now starting to try and open up a gap. Tinus looking left and right, trying to figure out where Bertus Hugo is going to go.
Well, that's actually Johan Krobler there in the blue car that we see. So Johan Krobler Bago there pushing hard. He's just past Tinus. Really powering here through the ranks in the last lap, and now getting ready to put pressure on Stephen Koenig, I think, towards the end of this race. So let's see if Stephen can keep Krobler at bay in these last few corners.
Do apologize, and Krobler really keeping the pressure on, looks to go on the inside. Stephen Koenig going to the middle line, trying to squeeze him out. You can see Krobler going and putting the pressure on, dives up on the inside. And let's see what he will be able to do. This is turning into a bit of a battle. Stephen goes defensive, trying to squeeze him out. Krobler just going by side action between the two. A little bit of contact. And now it is a drag race to the line. Who's going to be more on the throttle towards it? And looks like Johan Krobler just getting Stephen across the line. Absolutely incredible.
such good racing, and that is definitely the end of the race, ladies and gentlemen. Our timing board there was obviously a little bit behind, but that is definitely the end of the race. As per these results, we would obviously have official results after the race. We're looking at Steven Wessels taking the win, Zeard Peterson in second place, Luc Lechesi finishing up the podium positions there, with Paul Gerber and Daniel Rowe in fourth and fifth, respectively. So yeah, what an excellent race, Stephen. I think that was phenomenal. It was exciting to watch as well from my side.
Absolutely incredible, and seeing all the drivers really push themselves to the limit. And this is only round one, ladies and gentlemen. There is still a lot more racing to come. There's also the Porsche Cup Series that's coming, and this is what we want. A very close and tightly packed racing where it's all about the action.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon again. Thank you very much.
Cheerio.